pretty excited today because for the Pure Muscle Radio episode, our guest, and this is my co-host Dorian Hamilton, of course, but our guest today, Phil Viz. Welcome, Phillips. How are you doing?
What's up, Phil?
Going on, guys?
Phillips. Anybody call you Phillips? Your mom?
Actually, yeah, a lot of people call me that.
Oh, really?
My fiance Francesca actually calls me that when she's messing with me.
Oh, really? That's funny. All right. Well, I got some questions to ask you. There's a few things because I was like trying to come up with questions. Like, there's a few things I'm wondering because first of all, you're good at stories. You got all the knowledge that, stuck in your head, and sometimes I don't know how you can come up with all that stuff all the time. But let's start with like a question I was actually curious about. When did you and Dorian meet? First time.
I think that we met through Instagram. Dorian, we had spoken a few times. We had sent messages back and forth. Like whenever I see somebody, whenever I see like an up and coming coach doing like a really good job, and I notice, and I can tell that they're not just like piggybacking off genetic anomalies and things like that. I'll send them a message. I'll say, listen, you're doing a great job. I noticed that you're doing a great job, and it's not just like people are handing you genetic freaks. Like you're making it happen. A lot of coaches can't do that, and we've had rapport back and forth. I respected what he did. Then one day he hit me up to see if I wanted to join the company with HD Muscle. So we started talking about products and ingredients and formulations. A funny story actually, because I had posted it on my old Instagram before my Instagram was deleted. So I posted all the screenshots of the conversation, and I was like, you know what? I don't know, because companies don't formulate things properly. If you really wanted a good liver product, it's got to have this, 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 and this. You really wanted a good kidney product, it's got to have this, 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 and this. He sends me the labels, and it's exactly what I just said. I was like, oh shit! All right, I'm in.
That's crazy. I remember that.
So I was very surprised
Yeah.
because most companies won't put that type of effort into a product because they don't get as good a profit margins. You know what I'm saying? So there's less. You have to do more volume to do the same amount of money. So a lot of companies will just cut costs and cut corners and do things like that. And literally every product that HD has is the best one on the market. Like I challenge somebody to try to match up. They won't.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, companies lately have been trying to go that route, but I think we were the first one to really like go full on. All right, no matter the cost, we want the best product. There was a few companies before that, I think, because I know John Meadows was really particular with it, with the stuff that he wanted in his products. But as far as like lately, since HD Muscle happened, a lot of companies try to be like, you know what? I think we gotta change the way we do things. We can't just do like pixie dust pre workouts anymore.
I think in 2020 when we
Yeah.
created the first pre-workout, it was like over 23 grams of active performance ingredients, and I think it was by far the highest. And I remember everyone's advice was like, "Oh, you're crazy. It won't sell. It's going to be too expensive. You're not going to be able to make the profit margins." But I mean, that's what we were passionate about. So we didn't put the profit margins first. We put what we were passionate about first, and the brand grew to what it is today.
Yeah, but Phil, let me know if you agree with that. But I think people nowadays, or the average person who will buy supplements, is way more informed than like 20 years ago. Because 10 years ago, 20 years ago, when
Even 5 years ago, I feel like people now are a lot more.
yeah, but for example, where I would get a lot of information when I was younger, it was like I would get the MD magazine and read off that. And then I had also access to internet, of course, so I was a little bit wiser than the average person who read the magazine because I would go deeper and maybe take Lane Norton's articles and stuff. But in the magazines, you see like before and afters from ads, and you're like,
Muscle Tech.
yeah.
Gained 30 pounds.
No, the best ones were like the Gaspari Super Pump one. Remember that, Phil? It's like,
Well, I worked for him at that time, so yeah, I
That's
do
right.
remember that.
oh yeah, it's like he was like you had these before and afters, like before the workout, after the workout, the guy was just
You know
yoked.
what, though? They were actually, I think they were legit. It was just the
They
guy
were
standing
legit,
there.
but it's this giant pump.
The guy was just standing there
Well, the
looking like,
Gaspari
trying
one-
to look
the-
shit. And the
The
second one
Gaspari
was
ones, I
pumped.
can tell you straight up that they just did some real hardcore crash diets and peaked for the after photo and everything. Like they tried to look as bad as possible for the first picture, slouch your shoulders, stomach out, and then I think it was 2 weeks. It might have, I think it was, or it might have been 4 weeks. But they put them on like a hardcore diet, better lighting, better
Wow.
posing, like really like fluffed up the after. You know, it was, I don't know, I don't remember the exact timeline, so I don't know if it was a real timeline or not. I don't know how honest that was, but I do know that it was just like a crash diet, like hardcore, like
Yeah.
just for the before and afters.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I have a story real quick about that actually with the VPX. So 8 weeks out from I think the 2011. No, one of the shows I did. I don't remember which one it was. I go to do a before picture with Jacko Walk and VPX, and then he comes in the room at some point. He's like, "What is this?" He's way too in shape because I was 8 weeks out, whatever. He's way too in shape. Like it's not gonna work. Like then he told me like, stick your belly out, put your shoulders back, and look sad. You know, so I
Look
did all
sad.
that. And then
Look
I looked
sad.
I look terrible. And I think the before and after is like it's still online somewhere. It's kind of hard to find. And then after I came back, I was like, I don't know, like a 1 week out condition. And I was like flexing the abs super hard, shoulders wide. I even like it pumped it before. So it's like, that was bullshit. I knew right there and then, like, man, I'm one of these ads that's not real right now, but I'm getting paid for it, so whatever. Yeah,
Very
so
young.
we have to be careful with the ads. But now people, they know the bullshit. Where it's more deceiving now, it's social media. So are you spending? I've noticed sometimes like, is it Photoshop or not? Have you ever seen like some accounts that you discovered they were Photoshop after the fact, Phil?
There's so many Photoshop accounts now. I even had an old friend of mine who's pretty wealthy now, doesn't even do fitness modeling anymore, say to me one time, because we took a group picture, and he goes, "Oh no, no, give it to me." Like he had to edit his arm in the picture before posting it. And I'm like, dude, it's a group of friends. Like, why would you do this? And he's like, in this industry, he's like, if you don't Photoshop, everybody else is, you're falling behind because they're gonna have a leg up on you because they're gonna look better than you. So you almost have to do it. So I would never do that because I never wanted to be the guy that when people saw me in person, they're like, wait a minute, you're not as good as I thought, you know? So I never did any of that stuff, and I'll never do that for clients because I think it's deceiving, especially if you're selling something, you know?
Mhm.
It's deceiving, it's
I
misleading.
think it's more when you're
So
selling
people
something. Yeah.
people tend to Photoshop a lot of their stuff, and now we have AI that like can literally like make faces, voices, like it's gonna be crazy now. You're not gonna be able to trust anything, you
Mm.
know? So that's why I tell people whenever you're buying a supplement, you know, it's not necessarily it's always about like who owns the company, who runs the company, like what type of integrity do they have, because it literally is down to integrity. There's nobody really regulating these things, and people can get away with a lot. People caught a lot of things, like we saw when John Meadows was with the first company, I think it was Blackstone, and he had an independent test done on the product that he had designed, and it wasn't what he told them to put in it. So he cut his
I
contract
think it
and,
was called,
you
wasn't
know,
it
went his
Prime
separate
then?
ways. But
I
this
think it was
happens
before
so
Blackstone.
much. People don't realize this happens all the time. One of the biggest competitors right now for HD, I'm not going to name any companies, but I've talked with Dorian about this, and Dorian has confirmed. I've talked to Chris Tuttle about this. Chris Tuttle has confirmed. I've talked to my friend Andrew Berry. He's confirmed. All of us, we don't let our clients use health products from this certain extremely popular company because we constantly get bad blood work back. Like I client all the time. Oh, your liver enzymes are elevated. Are you taking what I told you? Yeah. What brand? This one. Oh, okay. So like I know immediately. I'm like, okay, like I know across the board that these products aren't dosed correctly, but that's what's on the label, and they have heavy hitting marketing, you know. So people are that's what people trust, you know, and that's what
Mm.
people start doing. And then they find out the hard way that it doesn't work. And that's why I think that the business model that HD has is it's going to sustain long term, you know, because you don't get a chance, you don't get a second chance at having people trust you in branding.
Yeah.
Once you screw up, you're done. There's no fixing it, you know. So if people start catching all of your products being garbage and it gets out there, you're done. And listen, everything comes to surface. If you're doing shitty shit, you know, excuse my language, people are going to find out,
Yeah.
you
The
know?
truth,
Sure.
the truth always comes out, right?
Yeah.
It's only a matter of
And the
time.
thing is, even if because now of social media and how transparent it is, even if you change your company's name, they'll know who's behind,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Your reputation and what you stand for and who you are as a person and individual, it's, you know, you can't, once you mess that one up, there's no going back.
Yeah. Well, talk about products here. So right here we got the new Pro HD. Whoop, I'm pouring coffee on myself. The new Pro HD label, minimalistic, perfect.
I think it looks more professional, almost like a prescription protein.
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
supposed to have more of like a professional sort of look, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but once you see it all tied together, like Mariah put a lot into this design.
Oh yeah. It's like
And,
all the flavors will have a different color here.
yeah, it ties in really, really nice. All the different series. I was
Yeah.
really, really happy when we were first going through it. You know what I mean? I couldn't really see her vision, but then once she put it all together, it's like it's pretty special.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And the thing is, like, even the labels we had, they're still sticking out on the shelf.
Yeah.
Because we were at this Aris nutrition store, and back in the day, it was all about, because people were buying more in the stores, you had to be your label, your brands stick out from on the shelves, and we're still doing it.
Yeah.
You know, like,
That's why BSN was bright red, because they stood out more than anyone else.
yeah, that's
And I
true.
remember that when we were dealing with Vitamin Shop and Vitamin World and distributors and things like that, they would always say, like aesthetics matter. It's got to stand out. It's got to catch people's eye. It's got to look good on an end cap. For whenever they put it on the end cap of the aisles for certain months, it's got to look good. It's got to look presentable. So the aesthetics matter. A lot along with the formulation.
Yeah, Animal Pack thrived back in the supplement store era without the internet, really.
Yeah, the cans, right?
Yeah, the cans and
nobody
stuff.
had cans.
No, that was cool. Like opening up.
Packs, everything was in the
Yeah, that was
packs.
cool. Yeah.
But yeah, with that whole design there, we just wanted to do something different. We wanted to go more minimalistic. Everyone in the supplement industry, most people, they all sort of like somewhat copy each other, right? They look at other brands as inspiration, where me and my sister sort of went outside the supplement brand and used more like high-end fashion brands and going on their websites and seeing their clothing and taking bits and pieces and elements, from that sort of industry and tried to bring it into ours. So trying to be a leader, you know what I mean, within our industry and be different, right? And not just looking to other brands within this space to get inspiration.
That's cool. All right, so I like stories, Phil. So who is the most impressive bodybuilder you've seen in the gym?
In the gym?
Yeah, training, just
Man.
like either like lifting weights or just the pump or whatever, right?
I mean, listen, I've trained Rami for a couple sessions, and
Oh yeah, true.
nobody is even close to the size that when I was training Rami, I think he was about 330, and nobody was even remotely close. Like it's crazy. Like just to watch him do like an incline press and watch his chest raise up like 3 inches when it was contracting, and just see how big he was. I remember I posted the videos and people were like, damn, he makes you look like a child. I'm like, I'm over 250 in this video. And he makes me look like I didn't even lift weights. Like it was like insane how big he was. So I would probably have to say Rami as far as, size and just the way his legs stuck out from his pants. Like you could see it no matter what angle. Like some people will wear like jeans or certain kind of pants. You can't really tell. You could tell how big his legs were no matter what he did.
Yeah, I remember.
And he was so thick front to back, it was ridiculous.
I remember you telling me about one of your training sessions with him, and it's just crazy to hear someone so genetically inclined and their ability to connect with muscle. I remember you saying like you was squatting like even one plate on a hack squat, and when he'd get to like a low amount of reps, he was burning and in so much pain and had to stop just because how much tension, or how much his muscles were firing, right? The ability to connect, right? So that's pretty
I put that together a long time ago when I was trying to figure out why people had better body parts than others. And I remember the first time I figured it out was, or maybe the connection anyway, I was talking to my friend Darren Dudash, who had phenomenal quads. I think he got second to Phil Heath in the junior nationals the year that Phil Heath turned pro. He's a really good bodybuilder. And I remember just asking him about leg training because I wanted big quads. And, and he's like, listen, I could rep out 400, 500. He's like, but I really don't need to. He's like, I could do 10 reps at 225. My quads are on fire. I was like, you mean like burning? Like, no, like excruciating. And I started making that connection. I started asking a lot of different people that had good body parts, and they all would say the same thing. Like, I feel this body part more than other body parts. Yeah, so I realized that neural connectivity, how well somebody can activate and connect to a muscle really governs how well that muscle grows. Like for myself, the only good body part I ever had was my shoulders. They grew like crazy. And I hated training shoulders because it felt like a perpetual superset. Like even between sets, I'm resting my arms on things, my shoulders on, like that insane, like high burn, like it never dissipated the whole workout. Like I felt pain, like somebody held a blowtorch to my shoulders for the whole hour. So that body part grew well on me and I responded well to it. And, when I was training Rami, I remember he was doing 135 on incline Smith and he's warming up. And by like the fourth or fifth rep, he's grimacing. I'm like, I start thinking, but he goes up to 4 plates for reps. And the next day we're doing legs, hack squat, 1 plate, like fourth or fifth rep. He's making faces. I asked him, I was like, you feel that? He's like, yeah. Like, I'm like, is it burnt? He's like, yeah. Like everything he does burns burns a high hell.
Wow.
And it's because he's hyper responsive in every body part.
It's crazy.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see like
it's kind of like you with legs though. You got to think like you could do a really low amount of weight on any leg exercise.
I can go like to
you
failure.
can also go really heavy and burn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can control.
Well, I can remove the tension from them and just do like, remember I did like 101 rep with 1,000 pounds. Yeah. But I was like messed up for like months. But what I can now do like 5 plates on the leg press and then just like burn them up after like 15. I'm like, oh my God, this is like too much.
Because you're applying the tension.
Yeah, it's like you can remove or add tension. I think that's a skill that people can have with their best body parts. I wish I had that with my back.
But isn't it funny though, as bodybuilders, I was explaining to a guy on the gym floor yesterday, a member here. It's like we always attribute like the amount of weight we lift to like progress, where it's like you're actually trying to put the most amount of tension and bring the muscle to failure. You're trying to make the exercise as hard as possible.
Yeah.
Where powerlifting is like, hey, I'm trying to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah.
So there's that fine line where people don't really understand that like the weight is just a tool to be able to apply tension to the muscle to break down tissue. You know what I mean? So it's
a lot of times we have different factors that play into that. Like you'll see people that are really strong on a lift and that body part won't be particularly good. And you're just like, what the hell? Like this doesn't make sense. But what happens is a lot of times when we think about power lifters, for example, they can get stronger and stronger and stronger, but their weight class doesn't really change much. Their weight might change 10 pounds in 10 years, but they add 150 pounds to their bench, 300 pounds to their squat and deadlift, things like that. So what exactly is going on there? So there's a lot of things going on there, but one of them is neuromuscular efficiency, the motor unit recruitment patterns, and the efficiency at which your body fires them. So the more neuromuscularly efficient we become at something, if you become too good at an exercise, I believe that it's no longer as beneficial because your body no longer has to struggle. And we can see this in a lot of things. I could send everybody to the gym right now and have you do, like dip ring push-ups, things like that. And it's not going to be heavy, but the next day your chest is going to be sore as hell because your body was so inefficient at the movement that it was pulling all its resources in to accomplish the movement because it's like, we got to get this done. I don't know how. Yeah. Whereas later on, your body becomes more efficient at it, so it's not as beneficial. So that plays a big part into things. And another one that plays, again, like I said, with the neuromuscular efficiency is whenever I have clients that have weak body parts, this is almost always the solution that I go with now is I'll have them pick an exercise or two where they really feel it. And I'll make sure they operate in a range of motion. Like hamstrings is a big one. So my solution to hamstrings all the time is keep the reps mid-range and just move it 6 to 8 inches. And they're like, but I'm not getting full range of motion. I'm like, keep it where the contraction is most intense and then slowly start to move outside of that range. But what I have them do is I have them do low volume, high frequency. So we're getting more and more opportunities to develop that neural connection. And when they develop the neural connection, all of a sudden they'll tell you, I feel a contraction more, I can recruit it more, I can keep the tension there more, and now the muscle's growing. So it's just improving neuromuscular efficiency in certain areas too.
Yeah, and I feel like anyone that struggles with that, I don't know if I've done this with you before, but even like before the workout, if you have a hard time connecting, say you do with the hamstrings, just like before you start the exercise, I actually did this with Ben before. He just got us to go on the hamstring curl before we started, and he grabbed like a mid-range weight, something not too heavy, but he basically got us to, contract, squeeze the muscle as hard as possible, as short as you can get, and hold the contraction for like 30 seconds, as hard as you possibly can. So then what happens is it turns the nervous system on. So now if that muscle you have a hard time connecting with, when you start the movement or training the body part, your nervous system's already like okay, we're going to be like, recruiting this muscle, stimulating here. So you're able to, get into the muscle a lot easier versus going in there and just doing sets. That's pretty cool.
I actually have a three-part series on my YouTube about potentiating and warming up muscles. And I've said this before, like people will train with me and they'll say, "Oh, I'm always stronger when I train with you. It must be because I'm intimidated or the pressure." It's not that. It's because we warm up properly and I just pull more of your actual potential out of you because like you just said, you warmed up properly. You potentiated, which means activated the muscles. You woke up the nervous system.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's necessary.
Yeah.
What kind of tools would we need to like measure all that? Like a little suction cups on the head and like little electrodes or something? And like, is there like studies that are like made like when you do this, you get so much more mind muscle connection? How do you measure that connection? Like people that have like brain imaging. Could you have like brain imaging while you do a leg curl? Is that possible?
I'm not sure, honestly. I don't think that our science is solid enough and our tools are solid enough yet for that to, be definitively ruled out with research. One of my problems with research is exactly this issue. Let's say we had 10 subjects who did leg extensions. Okay, but which ones connect better to their quads than others? Some might fire them off really well, some might not. Some might be able to train more intensely, some may not. And that's never mentioned in the studies. Who's more experienced, who can fire off muscle groups harder, who connects better. So you might get if we got 10 test subjects like Antoine, we had them do leg extensions, the study would say leg extensions are great for muscle growth, great activation. Then if we take somebody like me who has genetically weak legs and I did the exact same thing, we would get a different result just because it's two different people with opposite ends of the spectrum with that variance. So I don't really trust a lot of those studies because of things like that are omitted.
Yeah,
that's true. And one of my friends, he just joined the gym and he has a good chest, right? And he's like always like wants to do chest. And then I realized, hey, when you have a strong, for example, with me and my legs, I got like comments on my legs really from really young. So I was like, oh, I guess I got big legs. I'm good at training legs. So when I trained legs, I was like this, I kind of identify myself with the fact that I have good legs.
Told yourself.
And I just did them so much harder than everybody else that I've seen like when I was younger, right? So I think with somebody with a big chest, when he does chest, he knows that. He feels the chest working really well. So they're going to train their strong body part better than the weak ones anyway. So genetically, they're going to be prone to have a big chest. And training-wise, they connect better. And they like to do it more because it's their time to shine.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're kind of, if you have a strong body part, you're kind of doomed to have it like be an overpowering body part at some point if you like really like validate yourself with it. Like with you with shoulders probably.
Yeah. There's actual science behind what you just said. I was talking to the very respected Paul Carter last week, and he sent me research on this exact topic. We had talked about it before. I've said that it's always important that you enjoy your workouts, but the research that he sent me basically confirms or supports anyway that enjoying what you're doing plays a big part. So it's very important that the people that you're working with or what you're doing is enjoyable. Like you said, you liked legs because you were getting compliments on it and it was fun. And, you got that little dopamine spike from the compliments and you're like, oh, let me do more of this. So when people really find a way to enjoy things, you'll find that those body parts are better. Like I always hated training arms. My arms were terrible. They weren't like terrible. They were okay for a national competitor, but I didn't have pro level arms. I didn't have arms like you guys. And I tried my whole life. The thing is, I hated training arms. They were boring. I slacked anytime I got a chance. Sometimes I would tell myself, oh, I pressed 400 pounds for reps today. Like I only got to do some extensions at the end. That's enough. I'm like, no, it's not. But that's where my head was because I just didn't want to do it.
I think there is something to do with like energy though, right? Like whatever you tell yourself, if you tell yourself like I got shitty arms, I hate training arms, you're going to have shitty arms and you're going to hate training them. If you believe you have genetically amazing legs and you love training them, you're going to have amazing legs. So sometimes I think there is like whatever we're telling ourselves on a daily basis is our reality.
Well, it's really hard to do something to the best of your ability when you really don't like it. Yeah. Like let's say if you don't like, you hate making your bed. It's like there's somebody who loves making beds. Which bed is going to be better, right? Yeah. Which, Yeah. So the thing with it takes a lot of discipline. If they say you hate training calves and your calves are small.
Yeah.
Like, how?
But maybe you can learn to love it. Maybe you can appreciate what the bed looks like when it's made and going into a clean room.
Yeah.
Like,
So
for example, cardio. I don't love doing cardio. In fact, I didn't even like doing cardio, but I like the feeling after doing the cardio and how my day goes and how my mind's working. I feel more alert. I feel awake. I feel productive. I like the benefits of doing cardio. So I learned to actually appreciate it and do it and love it, you know?
Yeah.
No, Dorian is 1,000% right on this one, and it's a really, really good point that you made about programming yourself, because we do that, and we can do that. And even uh, a video I posted a couple days ago on my Instagram talking about, where it's a video of me just basically saying it's not that I feel less pain than other people when I train, because
I
I
saw
have a
that.
very high
Yeah, I
pain
saw that.
tolerance, and people would always say like I'm psycho, I'm crazy the way I would do legs and things like that, and the things that I was able to do. And I said, it's not that I feel less pain than you, just that I don't care. And the reason is because I set up
and you
a
told yourself
psychological
that.
trigger.
Yeah,
What is that?
you program your brain to react that way. You told
Yeah, so
yourself.
when you set up a psychological trigger, see, people see this all the time. A song comes on the radio that you like, all of a sudden it puts you in a good mood because it connects you to a time when you were happy. So when I train, I just connected pain to results. So now instead of pain being, oh shit, like something's wrong, this hurts, pain in my head became, my legs are getting bigger.
Yeah,
You
you
know, so
attribute it
now
to
it became a
that.
positive rather than a negative, like Dorian said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because pain is a signal the body gives you to tell you that there's danger.
To
If
protect
I'm
you.
hitting you right now
To
with a
protect you.
stick. Yeah. But it's like, so when we feel pain, it's like, oh, this is not, we kind of, as bodybuilders, we know that there's different pain, right? Because if our fucking knee hurts, like right here, it hurts. I mean, we know that this is not pain that's like good. So we kind of stop what we're doing.
Yeah.
But if we feel like a burning sensation in the whole leg, and like we know that, oh God, this is a good set.
Yeah.
So this is how we make the difference.
But then when you even look at like all the best athletes in the world, or whatever it is, whether it's businessmen, athletes, whoever it is, they all carry that same train of thought into their abilities. So if they're going to win Mr. Olympia, they're already telling themselves they're the best. They believe it wholeheartedly. Unless you believe it wholeheartedly yourself, like it's, you know what I mean? You need to believe first.
Yeah.
Before, anyone
100%.
else will believe in you.
Yeah, nobody won a race by thinking they're going to be the last.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't just end up first place.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe
So
some
be
people do
careful.
genetically.
So be careful what you think, and be careful what comes out of your
Yeah.
mouth.
One thing do you do cold plunge, Phil? Or you don't do that stuff?
No, I don't.
No, when I do cold plunges, it's really like the best time that I can see. Like now, I'm gonna really have to observe the pain, because if I attach any emotions to it, I'm gonna want to get out of there. So to last a long time, you need to observe exactly like, what am I feeling right now? Okay, my shins are like, they feel like they're numbing. This is very cold, and maybe my genitals hurt because it's so cold. But like you're trying to observe everything, and then just as like you're watching a movie.
Yeah.
Like a movie of sensations, but you're not attaching like, this is dangerous, I want to get out of here. You just breathe and you relax and you really observe everything, and then you can last a long time.
But do you also go through that pain because you don't like it, but do you like the after effect of the dopamine release?
Yeah,
of
course.
What I mean?
Yeah.
So you don't like doing cold plunges, but you like whatever
After.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, it's like there's a purpose behind it.
Yeah.
Purposeless
That's a
pain
funny
is
point
stupid, right?
Yeah.
That's a
So-
funny point that Dorian just made,
Yeah, we
the
just proved it.
fact that you don't actually like it, but you like the results. Like I always said, anybody who said, people say all the time, oh, I love training legs. If you love training legs, you don't train legs. It is not fun. It does not feel good. You like the results from training legs. You like the accomplishment, the after feeling. But while you're doing legs, if you're enjoying it, you're not training legs.
Yeah. I mean, before an arm workout, I'm like, it's arm. Before legs, I'm like, okay, all right. So how am I gonna do this today? And I know myself. I know, like, even if I want to start easy, at some point during a workout, my inner voice is gonna tell me that if I don't do X amount of more reps or more set, I'm a little bitch. It's always like that. It's always like I'm waiting for that guy to come in. All right, when is he gonna come in?
It's been like that
It's
from
always
day
there.
one, though, for
Yeah.
legs. You know what I mean? It's always this big buildup of like going to the gym, and you get anxiety. You're like, you want it to go good. You don't want to be able to like bitch out on a set because something's holding you back. It just like a good leg workout just sets the pace for the whole week.
Yeah, you can't have a day when you do legs that the leg day is not the main thing in your day that's happening.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're a real bodybuilder, like if you're just average gym goer, you do legs. Maybe you don't have like as much as emotions, but for us bodybuilders, when it's leg, it's like, oh, so you mean Thursday? No, it's not the day before Friday.
Yeah.
It's fucking leg day for me.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, and everything revolves around that time. Yeah. Do you still train legs super hard, Phil?
What was that?
Do you still train legs super hard?
I haven't done legs since February of 01.
Are you? Hold on. What?
I gotta go pee.
You haven't done legs? And how
I
long?
I took a break. You know, I killed myself on legs for so many years because I just didn't genetically have legs and I wanted to build them, and I built them up to 32 inches.
Yeah.
But because of the shape of them, because I have a big knee joint, they didn't even look like 32 inches, you know?
Yeah.
Like it was funny. I put a picture of my legs next to Luke Carroll's legs. And I said, whose legs look bigger? Everybody said, well, they look relatively the same. I'm like, really? Because my leg is like 3 inches bigger. And then I posted a video of us measuring our knees. His knee was 14 inches. Mine was 17 and a half.
Yeah.
So the illusion is what created the whole thing. And because I have really big knees, I had to have giant legs for them to even look good,
Yeah.
you know? Whereas somebody like Antoine, his muscles, his quads jump off the bone,
Yeah.
you know? So it's just different situation.
Yeah, people need to understand that, right? Like some of the best athletes, bodybuilders in the world, it's all about the illusion. So, like, even for example, someone that comes to top of my head is like Regan, for example. His like neck is so small, so it makes his width look crazy. His ankles are so small, so his calves look massive. All of his joints are so small, so it's like all the muscles look that much bigger and that much rounder, right? So it's there's lots of things to, you know what I mean, that make these top bodybuilders the best in the world, right? And something like joint size and all that, you can't change that. Like, you're born with that. If you're born with big knees, there's no changing that. The only thing you can do is try and get bigger quads. You know,
Yeah,
so
this is one reason why people can struggle, you know, trying to be classic, because if a muscle doesn't have shape, then it has to be bigger to have the appearance of shape. You know, by the time my legs were 32 inches, they looked like they had shape now, you know, but when they were like the size of an average men's classic competitor, they didn't look good at all because I didn't have enough muscle on them.
Yeah.
You know, so like you said, like the bigger, the worse the shape is to the muscle group, the bigger it's got to be to look like it has shape.
Yeah. No, that's 100% true. So it's pretty crazy though to see how genetically inclined, you know, so many people are. And then like to even see some people that don't have maybe the best genetics, but have just done a great job at making other body parts bigger to hide their weaknesses, right? Like even when you look at say Nick Walker, for example, like, you know, he doesn't have the smallest hips, but he's done an incredible job at building his body and working on his poses. When he does a frontal bicep, his waist looks tiny. You know what I mean? But genetically, he's not born with small hips, but he's just done an incredible job building the muscle he needs to build to hide, you know what I mean, the weaknesses.
And I think that this is a big part of developing your physique. And a lot of people just think that a physique is going to go from A to B and you're either going to be good or you're not. But the thing is, the path is what really matters. You can really mess things up along the way and destroy your physique, or you could do a really good job. Again, this is one of the things I noticed about you. You know, you've done this with a lot of people. You did this with Antoine. You just did this with Robin, who really surprised me this year.
Yep.
Because you put the muscle in the right places and it enhances the entire physique. So it's not just get big and everything is going to fall where it's going to fall. If you strategically put things in certain places and do certain things, you can emphasize certain things about a physique over others and really make that person stand out. And I feel like a lot of people don't do that. And that's why we never see like guys, like you'll see somebody relying on their genetics and they'll get to the pro level and they'll do pretty good. They might even do real good, but you never see them make substantial improvements again.
Yeah.
Because they kind of got there I don't want to say in spite of what they did, but not because of the strategy that they took. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
kind of a lot of these guys are kind of by accident. They just figured, let me just grow and
yeah.
hopefully everything is in balance and
No,
I'm gonna look good.
I'm glad you brought that up because I feel like when you get to the level of these guys, it should become more of like your approach to bodybuilding. You should be like it should be like a sniper rifle. You know what I mean? You need to be very direct with what you're trying to accomplish in the gym. And like you brought up Robin, for example, I knew that like, hey, if he looking at his physique, if he brings up his mid back, you know what I mean, that's going to make his lat spread. He already has width. He already has checks off some boxes, but you bring up the mid back and the traps, it's going to make that shot. He's going to look like he's 12 pounds bigger, but in reality, maybe we only put 3 pounds on. You know what I mean? That off season, but it was very
That's why it's so
direct with
important.
the intention. Yeah. Yeah. And you got to do that
Yeah,
as a
so that
bodybuilder, right? Like even someone that does have maybe wider hips, maybe they have big abductors. Well, maybe you do need to target, your sweeps. And if you bring up the sweeps, it's actually going to make you look that much bigger and make your waist look that much smaller. So you need to be like very direct when you're at the level that they are with what you need specifically.
you could even change poses based on which body parts you want people to look at, for example. And this is where Arnold always used to say, where it's important to show off your strengths and hide your weaknesses. And I think that art was kind of lost as of recent. And then it started to come back when Arnold started making a big deal about it at the Arnold Classic. One thing, one year, he just insulted everyone. He's like, nobody knows how to pose. Like, nobody put any effort into this.
Yeah.
And I think everybody took that note and really started paying attention to posing. And, I've even said, like, people would always say to me, like, you have great genetics and shape. And don't have great shape. I know your vantage point where you're looking at me from or where I'm taking the picture from. And I know how to make myself look good to you. If somebody's standing like 2 feet to the left, I look like crap to them. I only look good to the person I'm posing at because I know my angles that well and I know my poses that well. So that's why, like you said, little things like bringing out somebody's mid back can change the entire impression of the whole pose.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of coaches don't think about those things enough. I think bodybuilders don't think about those things enough. Like, what could I do to this pose to really make it stand out? Like you have a classic guy who's bubbly, on his side chest. If he just vacuumed in and pulled the hands high like Danny Padilla, then he's going to look better than everybody else in the lineup.
Yeah.
Chris Bumstead does this, so a lot of people miss these little things and they're losing on posing.
Yeah. Improving your muscular development doesn't always equal, 8, 9, 10 pounds of muscle. I feel like you can still make crazy changes to your physique without necessarily seeing that much of a difference on the scale, right?
And one thing also is like, let's say sometimes I would look at my physique and the 2020 Olympia. Okay, I was 270. And then I look at my physique from like the Chicago. I'm like, why am I so much better in Chicago? I find, and then I think it's just just like the fact. Let's say if your waist is just fuller, how many pounds gets stored in the waist? Like seriously, like you could easily have like 3 pounds in the waist.
Yeah,
that's just stuck there,
sitting in your intestines.
Yeah,
and I've talked about this a lot. Just like we were talking about while you were in the bathroom about the knee joint being small or a joint being small, making everything else look bigger. I always said to everybody, like, you got to be careful bulking because if you put an inch on your waist, that's your centerpiece. An inch on your waist is going to make you look like you lost 10 pounds of muscle. So now you got to put on 10 pounds plus to even look like you got better if you just made your waist an inch bigger. So these people that are, GH and insulin slamming food and their waistlines are getting big and their stomachs are getting big. Well, you're literally shrinking yourself visually because everything is just visual impression. It's an illusion. And like I've talked about before, is the golden ratio is something that people aren't aware of. The golden ratio is a geometry equation that shows the symmetry of your face, and it can determine how attractive you are. And like clockwork, there's a certain number, I think it's like 1.6 something or something like that, where if your face is close enough to this ratio, that determines how good looking you are. And like they went through celebrities and all kinds of examples, and it literally shows that genetically, we are DNA wired to appreciate symmetry and balance. So just because a judge isn't looking at you and saying, oh, well, this is really balanced and even, he's just thinking, okay, this looks great to me, but he doesn't not necessarily always know exactly
Just
why.
understand it.
And if you can fix somebody's symmetry and balance and really even things out, it can make a world of difference in your physique. Like I know you and Dorian backed off your leg training a little bit because your legs would be freaking 40 inches if you wanted them to be, you know?
Mhm.
And what you guys did is instead you started bringing up your chest, you started bringing up your back, and then everything came together and you just look like a better, more complete bodybuilder. And that's why you did better.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a question actually that is for Dorian, both you and Dorian. So, what are your client pet peeves?
Dorian, you go first.
You want me to go first? Oh man, jeez, that's tough. There's been a lot along the way. I would say the biggest pet peeve is just even simple things, like even something as simple as like they think, as athletes, we always think more is better. So even if they're adding 15 minutes, 20 minutes extra cardio, I don't like that because I want to be in full control. I want to know exactly what you're doing. I want to be able to manage fatigue. And if you're doing more than, you know what I mean? It's hard for me to be able to push and pull if you're manipulating your diet, even if you think like, oh, I don't need the carbs, I'm going to eat less, or you're doing more cardio. That type of stuff for me is like so frustrating, So
Oh, that's funny because
yeah, that's pretty much probably my biggest one. Yeah, it would have to be. That's the most common one I think I've come across. That's like why.
So, would you rather like a client goes like, "Hey, I cheated yesterday on my diet. I ate more food," or
Yes,
2 weeks down the line, "Hey, by the way, I was doing more cardio this whole time."
I would rather them be honest with me from the second it happens. Like if they cheated on the Monday, tell me the Monday when you fucked up, or the Tuesday, just tell me right away.
Yeah.
So I know why you look that way.
Yeah.
So I can make the appropriate adjustments.
No, as somebody watching you coach people, sometimes I look at you freaking out. I don't understand. I'm cutting carbs, I'm doing this, and then they're just staying the same. It's like freaking out. Some people, I don't know.
it's
Yeah.
it's funny because me and Dorian have actually talked about this at length for years now, and it sucks. This actually happens to Dorian a lot. People veering off plan. I think I just tell Dorian. I always joke with him. I say, "Stop being Canadian. You're too nice. Like, stop being nice to these guys." He's caught people, and all of Dorian's clients watching this. You better be careful because he sees everything, and he might not even say anything. But like I know a lot of times I told him to say something, and he didn't say anything. But he catches everything. He sent me like a check-in photo. Like, you see what's in the background? That's not on the peak. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, he zoomed in on the background and looked at the table in the background and knew that the person was cheating.
Yeah.
And then he gets blamed for the botched peak. And then he's so nice, he doesn't even say anything. But he literally caught these people cheating and off plan. And it's just like, what the hell? And, like, I had to come to that realization years ago that clients cheat a lot. They just do, and it's tough because you can't control that, and you're making decisions based off what you see, and you don't know that, so you're making the wrong calls.
You know what's crazy though? Like, because it's a recurring thing that we zoom in during peak week in the hotel room and we find shit that's not in the plan. Because I've seen a lot of your clients with that, and the thing is, it's always like pros that are good.
Well, because I think what happens
genetics.
is when you have people that are already good athletes, sometimes they're not always the most coachable because they have an idea of what has worked for them in the past. And if they do feel that way, that's fine, but just make sure you communicate that with the coach. Don't just take his plan and then be like, well, you know what? This worked good for me, the last couple shows I did, so I'm going to have this on hand and have it. You know what I mean? Like, the coach needs to know everything. Mm-hmm. So I think sometimes
you can't take 5 pieces from 5 puzzles and make a picture.
No.
It's got to be like you can't just say, oh, well, this one thing worked for me, so I'm going to do this different but follow everything else. Well, that might not work altogether, and then you just messed everything
up. If I don't peak you, I want it to be my fault and understand it. I don't want to like you not peak and then find out you took diuretics when I told you not to take diuretics, or like, because then it's like I wasn't even I was useless. If you decided to take something 3-4 days out and I didn't know, and you're taking Aldactone or something, it's like then there's nothing I could have done. I'm not even in control at that point. You know what I mean? It's like, don't even bother. Like, it's not worth it, you know? So
in our industry, coaches get blamed for that 99% of the time. And people don't realize, always, oh, the coach over dieted you, he spilled you too many diuretics. How do you know that the client even executed properly and did everything they were supposed to do? You know, and then sometimes you have people that are head cases, that stress out of their mind. And you can't peak those people if they're stressed out of their mind. There's no, I can't science and biohack stress. If you're stressed out and your body is just, and your gut inflammation and your head's all over the place, you know, you're just not going to peak. You know, there's nothing you can do about that. So, like you said, with the genetic anomalies, sometimes they get used to getting away with things. I find that the best genetics are never the best bodybuilders because they've had it so easy that they don't know how to deal with struggle. They don't know how to deal with controversy. All of a sudden, they're at the top and they've got to get that last percentage of body fat off, but they've always won and they've never had a hard time. They've never struggled with anything. So they don't know how to endure that. They don't know how to deal with the stress of that and work through it. Whereas somebody else who didn't have as easy of a road got used to the struggle and the suffering and you know the difficulty, and they're able to do it.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because like with Antoine, you know, he was an incredible bodybuilder, and I do feel if he didn't go through all of his, you know, drug addictions and stuff, I always thought to myself, he would have been one of like the best bodybuilders in the world when you look back at what he looked like when he was 23, 24, when he was coming up. But then the other part of me was like, you know what? Yes, if he had the discipline he has now, because he's the easiest athlete to coach. He's very coachable. You tell him what to do, he does it bang on. So, but I don't know if he'd have this discipline that he has now if he didn't go through the drug addiction. You know what I mean? So going through the drug addiction maybe is a reason why he even won a couple pro shows. If he didn't go through that, he might not have ever been mentally strong enough to even get in that condition or that shape. You know what I mean?
That's so funny you say that.
Yeah.
I just had somebody DM me a video yesterday talking about Oprah. And it was a woman that was on a talk show talking about Oprah. And they said she got fired at like 23 or something years old. And they said she's not fit for television and she wasn't good. And the other host said, oh, I bet you they regretted that. And the lady said no, because she wasn't Oprah yet. She was just some 23-year-old punk who had to get fired in order to become Oprah.
Yes.
So sometimes, you need that kick. You need to hit bottom to realize I got to get my shit together. And that's why you see people, you see the genetic anomalies struggle throughout their career. And it's like, how is this guy not killing everyone?
Yeah.
You know? And it's because they don't have the fortitude to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. The hard times is what makes you strong, right? You know?
Well, my first best prep that I had was like when I came back 2018. I was like, all right, done 4 rehabs now. I've been away from this years, like 4 or 5 years. Like now, if I can't follow through and do that show,
this is your ticket back.
It's like it's never gonna happen. So
everything relied on this.
Oh yeah, everything relied on that. So I just gave my all, and then after that, I was like, wow, this freaking worked. Yeah. So I just kept that with every prep I did. Yeah. But I was not able to do that before because I was like, man, you know, like I had a drug problem, of course, but also when I was younger, I was not fully into it because I was like,
you're still getting success with putting in 85, 90%.
Yeah, and I remember when I was 20 years old, I was prepping for the Mr. Quebec Provincial. It's like a stage show, and my training partner was doing the same show, same category as me.
I remember watching that.
Yeah,
David, was it David?
Dave Mitchell.
Yeah,
and we were training together, and we were like just the craziest training sessions I've had in my whole life because we were like both competitive, both in the same class, both super heavyweights, both young and just like both strong and both with like ego with each other. It was crazy. So the whole time we're posing after the show, after the workouts, I'm like, I got him because I looked
bigger. You were bigger.
I was bigger. I was better lines and everything, and I posed better and stuff. And then I was just like the whole time I was like, I got him because I could see it right there. I have better physique than him. And then the last 3 days, I was like, you know, I'm gonna carb up and be like so much bigger than him and stuff. And so I could start eating like junk, whatever it's off-plan stuff to for the show. And he got super freaking dry and granite. And then the fucking guy beat me. He beat me. So right there and then I was like, man. The cool thing is that I needed that loss, to be honest, because I would have been, if I won, I would have been like just this like young, like cocky guy for a little while, you know. But I got my ass handed to me that day. It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Sometimes you need that in order to get that push. Like I said, if you just win everything that you do, then you know you kind of get that high school quarterback prom king syndrome where just everything has always gone your way.
Mhm.
So as soon as something doesn't go your way, you don't know what the hell to do. You don't know how to handle it. You don't know how to get through it. You know, people don't realize like they'll see like I don't know, like your Chicago last year where you came to the show and you just looked as perfect as you could look. And they're like, oh, that prep must have been like that prep must have been perfect. And no, everybody deals with stress. Everybody deals with hard shit. It's just some people can handle it and some people can't. So some people crack at the first sign of stress,
Yeah.
and then the whole prep falls apart, and then they end up looking bad. You know, actually used to be that guy, but like I did it to myself. I would give myself stress and anxiety because I would put these unrealistic expectations on me,
Yeah.
and it would never turn out the way that I wanted. So I really like screwed myself. But the people that can handle the difficulty at the end, you know, I say all the time, anybody can get to a 4 weeks outlook, 5 weeks outlook. Anybody can do that. Not everybody can do what's inside of that. You know, that's the hard part. That's what everybody else can't do. And if you don't have that fortitude built in, you're not going to make it.
Yeah, for me personally, I stress more when I'm not in prep. Because when I'm in prep, it's like I could just drive everything towards this one thing.
You like the routine.
Yeah, it's just that because when I don't have that, I'm like, it's like everything is like I'm more stressed when I don't prep, which is I think is just a purpose thing and an obsession thing. If I don't have anything to obsess over,
the way you're programmed.
yeah, but it's all right. But yeah, the Chicago Pro was always fun. I like having you there when I peak and stuff with Dorian, and it's always good to have you there. It's I don't know. Now it's like I feel like if I all the shows I want to do, I want Phil Viz to just be there in the corner.
Yeah. Phil's one of the only guys I trust. If I'm ever prepping a client or troubleshooting, you know, I've always gone to Phil and asked him what he thinks, or you know, and it's anytime I'm thinking something in my head, I'll ask Phil, and I'll see what his response is. In 9.5 times out of 10, we're always on the same page, so it just gives me the reassurance knowing that, like, okay,
and
like,
this is actually something I wouldn't recommend for most people. Like Dorian couldn't make it to Chicago, so I went with Antoine to help peak him for Chicago. But Dorian did the peak. I was giving feedback, what I saw, what I thought, and then Dorian was still making the decisions. And the thing is, the reason why we work so well together is because he's so attentive as a coach and because we're so similar. You know, I would say to him, okay, well, what does he look like at his fullest? 10 seconds later, boom, all the pictures in my phone. This is his fullest look. What's his flattest look? 10 seconds later, boom, this is his flattest look. This is his weight. This is what he was eating. This is why, like, he knew all the data. He paid attention so well. He would tell me like little things like, oh, he's not full until you see his upper chest filled in. Like he would know those little tiny details that a really good coach pays attention to and notices. And I couldn't do this with another coach because they wouldn't be giving me the correct feedback in order to do it. Because you can't peak somebody if you don't know their body.
Yeah.
You absolutely can't. Nobody can jump in the final week and just peak somebody perfect and make it work. It's not happening. It's not realistic. But the feedback and all of the data that Dorian was able to share with me, that's how we're able to do it, you know? So coaches that don't do that and don't notice that, or that are watching this, aspiring coaches, there's going to be little details about your client that you'll notice. Like you can only see this body part when they're dry. This is only here when they're full, you know, and you've got to know their flat versus full looks and their variances and how they got there in order to make the right decisions. And I feel like a lot of people, you know, I think that's missed a lot in coaching.
Oh, 100%.
All right. So to finish this off, I got like some would you rather's questions.
Oh boy.
You know what those are? So I made them myself. I didn't Google any. Yeah. So the first one. Become Mr. Olympia, but remove 10 good years of your life. So just wouldn't do it, yeah.
Because you know what? The Mr. Olympia time is so short-lived, and then you said 10 good years.
Good years, not the last ones.
Not like from 70 to 80.
No, not the last ones. That's the thing. 10 good years.
Well, you know what? That question is actually a very realistic question, because realistically, in order to win the Mr. Olympia, you're going to lose some good years of your life.
That's what I was thinking. So it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, I would never do that. But I'm like, are most bodybuilders already doing that, but it's on the back end? It's probably more in those, like, 70 to 80 ages.
Yeah, it's more on the back end.
I think they decline earlier in their life.
Mm.
There's people that we know in our industry that are drug abusers, PED abusers. There's one well-known coach in the UK that people all fan over, who people can't believe he's like 31, 32 years old. They think he's like 50s because he admittedly hammered the drugs so hard that it wore on him. And when you get into those situations, like a lot of the top Olympians, they abuse PEDs. They really do. The open guys, not all of them. Some can get away with lower doses. Some have great genetics. Some build their base and then they back off, which is the smart way to do it. But some guys just gun it the whole way, and they end up with shorter careers. You see their bodies break down sooner, and then you'll see them in their, you'll see, like, listen, I hate to say it, but listen, look at Ronnie in his 50s. He's falling apart. He trained his ass off. He gunned it. One of my clients' wife actually used to date him. So she said when Chad used to send that program in, the whole first page was drugs, the whole first page.
Whoa.
And this is what happens when you do that. So yeah, in order to be Mr. Olympia, I don't know about classic because you don't have to carry so much size. Like, look, we know Chris Bumstead doesn't use a lot. He can't because of he has a kidney disease or something like that. So he was still able to do that. That's great genetics, phenomenal training, being a perfect bodybuilder, things like that. But when you're talking about like open bodybuilding winning, most of those guys up there are running real high doses. And they're going to lose good years because you're by the time you're 45, your kidneys aren't functioning the same and liver's not functioning the same. So yeah, you're affecting things like that.
Yeah.
So would you rather be super strong or super jacked?
Super jacked, absolutely.
Yeah.
Jacked.
Jacked, yeah, of course. No one said strong.
Really?
I was like, what?
Lying to himself.
Dude,
Yeah.
I was talking to these. I was sitting at a juice bar when I was younger, at a retro fitness with my girlfriend at the time, who was a very good looking girl. And these kids are sitting there bragging about how much they bench. And I looked over, I'm like, guys. I looked at her, I'm like, hey babe, I benched 1,000 pounds last week. What do you think? She's like, oh, that's pretty good. I'm like, really? It's like 200. That's like 200 pounds over the world record. I was like, she doesn't know what the hell that means. You tell her 225, 315, 500. She don't know. No girl at the beach is like, that guy looks like he benches 500. Let me talk to him. Like,
Yeah.
it just doesn't work that way.
No, that's funny. Would you become a woman and dominate all sports and divisions, or stay as you are and be like just a coach?
I am completely against that. I think that's a terrible thing if that's happening to women right now, and girls are being robbed of their opportunities and things like that. Listen, I have nothing against transitioning and things like that, but when it comes to sports, it's an obvious advantage. It's not fair. So I get that you want to be inclusive and include everyone and be nice to everyone, and that's fine. I believe let people do what they want to do in their life, no matter what it is they want to do, as long as it doesn't impede on others. And once you start hurting people that like work their whole lives for something because you just have a genetic advantage, that's not fair.
So you choose to stay the same, I guess. So yeah, I think I would not be a woman.
Stay the same.
So that question I already know the answer, but would you diet forever? Or eat clean food only forever? No, sorry. Would you diet forever or eat like junk food only? Clean food only or junk food only?
I literally do eat junk food only.
I know.
Mostly.
Yeah. And you, the answer is a clean only.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
I love junk food, but I would
every
feel like
day
shit
though.
if I ate it
Every day, yeah.
I'd be fat. I'd be depressed. It wouldn't be good.
Okay, so this one is a tough one. A tough one for the guys. Would you rather lose your penis or lose both your legs?
Both your legs?
Both your legs.
I thought it was one leg.
No, both of your legs.
I'm sorry, man. I'm going to be a monk. I'm going to like take something to get rid of the libido, and I'm keeping my legs, man. Dude. Like, you can't walk.
At what age?
Dude, that's insane.
At what age? Right now.
What age?
Right now.
Right now? Shit, that's a tough one. Honestly, I'd probably give up my penis.
Yeah, me too.
No,
I would just take something that gets rid of, like, there's a way to get rid of the hormone.
Dude, I'll just get some fucking sick prosthetics.
Oh, man, no
and keep
way,
fucking.
man.
Well,
not that.
it's actually funny if you ever researched eunuchs back in olden times. The reason they made them eunuchs is because now they were no longer susceptible to anything sexually related. They couldn't be manipulated by women. They weren't driven by it, so it made them more logical and more efficient.
Yeah, you'd be like,
Yeah.
you'd just be get so much done. You know what I mean? You'd be be very productive.
Actually,
on your
that's very
business,
true.
You know.
But what about companionship?
Oh man.
Date a
And
lesbian.
be really good with your tongue.
Or yeah, you're gonna have to just have someone that's on the same level. It's just not so
Yeah.
sexual.
Just like a closed off vagina.
Oh my god,
Isn't, just sew it up.
this is craziness.
Yeah. And the other one, this one's interesting. Would you rather lose an arm and gain $1 million or gain an arm and lose half your money?
Hold on, you have 3 arms.
Sucks because
Yeah.
the scenarios
So-
suck either way.
So one, you,
Either
you
3 arms
lose
or
an
1?
arm, but you gain $1 million. The other one is that you gain an arm, but you lose half your money.
Well, oh my gosh, man, that's a really weird one.
I know what I would do.
Well, to be perfectly honest, you're going to be disfigured either way, so you might as well lose the arm and get the money.
No, I would lose half my money and gain a third arm.
Yes, but you can get rid of the third arm. And
Ooh,
then
that's
you'll have-
right.
And then you'll just have your 2 normal arms.
I lost half your money.
Oh well.
No, I would want to have a third arm.
My arm is worth.
Dude, it would be right here.
You cannot put a cost.
I'd be
on
like-
my arm.
The tripod go roll. I'll have a third arm. Lose half the money. I don't have that much money anyway. Seriously, I don't have millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Then
And
if you have a third arm, you could probably figure out an activity where you could perform better than people with 2 arms.
you make your third arm profit, and you make fucking 3 times the money.
Oh my gosh.
So what would you do? Would you rather lose an arm, gain $1 million, or third arm,
After hearing Dorian's response, I'd say gain an arm.
gain an arm? So
But,
you
I'm getting rid of the third arm.
so you would just lose money and just be normal.
I would just lose the money and I can remain as I am because money is just money.
Yeah, you'll
And
make
I
some.
like-
You're good at making money anyway. All right. Well, that's all I got. Phillips, that's all I got for today. So anything you want to add? Thank yous or shout outs or
Are you taking on clients or anything right now, Phil?
I mean, I'm usually taking on clients. I don't really stay particularly full. I don't try to be all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll cut it off if I feel like it's too heavy of a workload.
Yeah.
But all I really do is work, and I feel like I'm sitting at home texting, and writing programs. It's not that hard to take on a lot of people.
Yeah. You're
So
full.
I
you're
do have an
full-time.
application process though, where I make sure that I mesh well with the people, and and anybody who's applied who was turned down, it's no offense. It's not because I don't think you have potential. It's just because I don't think our personalities match. Either you might be too sensitive because I'm very abrasive, or it's just the type of person that likes to talk about their goals more than actually try to accomplish their goals. So certain people I just don't work well with, and there's no hard feelings about it. I'm not rejecting anybody, making anybody feel bad for anybody whose applications I've turned down.
Yeah.
It's just that I like to work with a certain type of person so that I can further my brand, because I feel like I'm not going to get results with you due to one factor or another, or I'm going to struggle. But that's also ultimately going to look bad on me.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm just coaching right now, putting out classes. I'm going to be doing more classes soon.
so where
My
people see that?
concepts prep class has been
Where do
What
people
is that?
see it? Where people can sign up with these classes and stuff?
okay. Well, I post everything on my Instagram, so it's just Phil.Viz on my Instagram.
Field.biz.
I'll have a site up soon with just all the basics on there, but yeah, I pretty much just use Instagram.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Great.
People, field.viz. Comment below if you got some questions for Viz, or you can message him on Instagram. But in the comments here on YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, Phil will come by and say what's up, right? Right, Phil? So,
Absolutely.
so just subscribe, follow Mr. Phillips over there, and thanks for watching. Thanks, Phil, for it.
Yeah. Thanks,
It,
Phil.
it feel like
Thanks for
we
having me.
would have had this conversation anyway, though. That's the cool thing with interviewing friends, right? We'd just be hanging out in a hotel room waiting for fucking weigh-ins and just talk about all that shit anyway.
Waiting for the next meal.
Yeah, waiting for the next meal. All right, thanks, Viz.
We could have filmed our interactions in Vegas and sold that as educational material.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we could have. Yeah,
Maybe something for the future.
yeah, true. All right,
Thanks, Phil.
take care, Phil. Take
All
care,
right, we'll see you
guys.
then.
See you next time.